Hello, everyone, and welcome to right now it's monthly interviews with our spiritual directors. I am Emilie Boggis. I always forget to say who I am, and I'm just really delighted, delighted to be here with Heidi Lender, who's one of our spiritual directors here at LeaderWise, and also is the executive director of Christos. So, Heidi, just tell us a little bit about what Christos is and what you do there.
Yes. So Christos is it's a retreat center. It is a contemplative space. It is also a place where we train spiritual directors. And so
Yeah.
I had the gift of being able to be trained at Christos as well as now serve in the executive director role.
So tell me how you came to be a spiritual director. What was your
Yes.
path?
Yes. So I spent most of my career in higher ed.
Hmm.
And I was a career counselor for many years before I started kind of moving up.
Yeah.
Um, and I was trained at St. Mary's, University of Minnesota.
Uh-huh.
And one of the gifts in my training program was I was not only trained as a counselor, but I had a specialization in spirituality as well.
Hmm. Hmm.
And the reason that was important at the time to me is that I wanted to do more than just provide career assessments and have chats. I wanted to have those discernment conversations about
Mm.
where they felt they were being called. So I
Right.
did that for a long time. And then I found myself discerning what's next.
Mm. Mm.
And I had a gift of knowing one of our faculty members in the theology department, and she and I had lunch together. And I said, I know I'm feeling nudged, but I
Hmm.
really want this to be something from God, right?
Yeah.
I really want
Yeah.
to know what I'm being called to do.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Have you tried spiritual direction?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Spiritual direction? What is
What is
that?"
that? What is that? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Lutheran, come on, right? And never heard of spiritual
Huh.
direction, but
Yeah.
she's like, "Oh, I think you should go see my spiritual director." Then I found myself at my church one day, and I saw this it was like an introduction to spiritual direction.
Uh-huh.
There was this woman that was there, and unbeknownst to me, she is just a pioneer in the field of spiritual
Wow.
direction. Dr. Jeanette Baki, who wrote
Huh.
Holy Invitations, she
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
leading this, and of course, finding out later that she's on faculty at Christos as
Hmm.
well. Um, but she did just this really lovely session,
Mm.
and I walked out of that session and I felt God's presence in just a really big
Mm.
way that
Mm.
I couldn't say no to this anymore. Like I couldn't
Yeah.
keep it on the shelf.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really needed to do some more exploration around that. And so went to Christos, got trained as a spiritual director,
Mm.
and I had the opportunity to really see what it was like to be in ministry
Right.
and
Right.
how difficult it can be to
Yeah.
be in ministry.
Yeah.
And one of the things that was little surprising to me at the time, and now it just seems like it was just a gift from God, but I loved walking alongside the pastors. And
Hmm.
I loved being in that space where, they had a place, kind of a safe space to fall.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it just led me to wanting to work with pastors and
Hmm.
ministry in a new way. And that's when I decided to go to Wartburg and go to seminary so I could talk the talk, because I felt like, oh my gosh, I don't have enough of that.
Right. Right.
So I
Right.
got a little more of that. And then that led me to
Well,
LeaderWise.
and I
And
love the fact that in your early career in higher ed, that you were walking with students who were asking the questions, who am I and what is my purpose? Because so often spiritual direction can be thought of as only for clergy, right? And the fact that it is a spiritual question. Those are spiritual questions. Who am I? What is my purpose? And then once you answer those two, like, how am I going to live?
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah, and it's just been a gift because
Yeah.
I just feel like it's all brought everything together, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And I've just felt so grateful to be able to walk alongside people in such a sacred space,
Yeah.
um, and to really be in a space that heals, right?
Yeah. So what do you feel like is the impact of being in spiritual direction on clergy burnout?
Yeah, so it's huge,
Mm,
right? And I've experienced over the last several years. I mean, I feel like we have lived a perfect storm,
hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Clergy have been in a perfect storm
Yeah.
with, with all that's dividing our nation and COVID and um, being at a time when those older church members that have been carrying the church
Mhm.
financially and all of those things
Volunteering. Yeah. I mean, everything. Yeah.
are passing away, like they are
Hmm.
getting older. And so I've seen clergy just really be in a difficult spot,
Hmm.
um, and and grieving not only for their people
Hmm.
that they're losing, but also grieving what it was way back when I was called into this, and is it that now? And there's some ambiguous loss going on there,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it is grief.
Yeah.
And what I have appreciated so much is to be able to be in that space with them so that they can share their story.
Hmm.
And that's where I feel like I've seen the healing happen.
Yeah.
I've had clergy say to me, this is the only time
Yeah.
that I allow myself
Hmm.
to take care of myself.
Yeah.
And so it's a chance for them to take care of themselves and
Yeah.
allow God to take care of them
Right.
in that time, because they do a lot of taking care of others.
Yeah. It's so powerful to hear you describe or to name ambiguous loss as a part of what clergy are going through. I mean,
Just encouraging them that it's okay to
hmm.
take time out for their own spiritual practices
Yeah.
and giving them permission
Yeah.
when they think they see the laundry list of things to do,
Yes.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They just are like, thank you.
Yeah.
And, and at the end of spiritual direction session, when you're praying for them, they just tears, right?
Yeah.
Like, thank you for praying for me.
Ask you, so what song, as we ask all spiritual directors, what song keeps showing up in your life?
So, the song that keeps showing up for me,
Yeah.
Simon and Garfunkel's Sound of Silence.
Oh, yeah.
For about 9 months ago,
Yeah.
I got an email from the founder of Christos,
Uh-huh.
and it was a simple email that just said, I want you to know that this song was incredibly meaningful
Mm,
in my journey and my ability to start the contemplative work that is now.
mm,
Yeah.
mm.
And I think the invitation for me has been the invitation to silence
Yeah.
and the invitation to set aside the world for a time and just be with God in
Hmm.
His presence, in the silence. And
Yeah.
uh,
Well, this is beautiful. Heidi, thank you so much.
well, it's
I'm gonna go listen to Simon and Garfunkel now.
okay. It's been a gift to be with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yep.